Are we in Clint also?
No. Just.
Hi again, for those of you who are just joining, we're just going to give everybody one more minute or so to join. And in the meantime, please put your name and your organization in the chat. Thank you. Well, all right, I think we will go ahead and get started. First and foremost, happy Friday to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on this afternoon to talk about First Five's Stronger Systems, Stronger Families initiative. We are really proud and excited to share this RFP with all of you, and it has come after a great deal of work internally at First Five, first through the launch and development of our strategic plan, and then really turning that strategic plan into this funding opportunity that we're excited to share with you all. I want to start with just some logistics for today. As you can see, there are a lot of you joining us. So First Five team, I guess we didn't have to worry that no one would come. So looks like many of you have joined us. We're excited to see you all. So because there are so many of you, and we want to make sure that we are able to track all of your questions, we are going to ask that you please put your questions in the Q&A box. For those of you who aren't familiar with Zoom, it is down on the bottom toolbar. It's right next to the chat box. So we are asking that you try to put your questions and answers into that Q&A. We will also, for straightforward and really short answers, we may go ahead and respond right in that Q&A box. Otherwise, we will potentially answer that question live during the course of our conversation today. And in some cases, we may not be able to answer the question live, and we will get back to you all through our FAQ. We'll be posting all of the questions and answers on our website next week. So if we need a little more time, or it's sort of a detailed answer that we think you all might benefit from having it in writing, then we will make sure that we put that into our written question and answer, which again will all be posted on our website. I do want to say, although we will answer some questions live today, we do recommend that you look at the written FAQ and of course the actual RFP document as the final word on any particular questions or requirements. So please do check both of those places. Lastly, we are recording this session. This recording will also be posted on the First Five website, as well as the slides and the frequently asked questions. So lots of resources at the First Five website if you have questions. If anyone is having any technical challenges, one of our team members is available to field those and support you. Emily, maybe you could wave. Emily, hopefully you can see Emily's box. Emily, she's on there as Emily F, but I think in the chat you'll see her as Emily Bayram. So if you have any issues with tech or sound or anything, we want to make sure we try to support you during the course of this meeting. I think with that, we will go ahead and get started. Team, any other logistics I forgot? Zulema, did you want to make a quick announcement in the beginning about the chat for anyone that might want to ask a question in Spanish? Oh, you did already. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So again, the Stronger Systems, Stronger Families initiative is really our significant funding opportunity that First Five is putting out for the first time in many, many years. So next slide. All right, so just a little bit about this initiative. So really through this funding opportunity, we are looking to fund agencies to provide work that really ultimately our goal is to connect families to the resources, services, and support they need in order to raise healthy children prenatal through 5. This goal comes directly from our strategic plan, which I'll talk about in a moment, and was really driven by the results of a community engagement process, including a community survey of parents where over 2,800 parents responded and really identified basic needs, support with safety and healthy development as their top needs and their biggest concern. So that's really the way this RFP was designed, is to essentially address that need. We are looking to support agencies and services that are culturally responsive, trauma-informed, and healing-centered, and you can read much more about that in our strategic plan. There's a link to that in the RFP. It's available on our website, and it really gives you more background about how this initiative was developed. We are looking to provide this as a 3-year flexible funding opportunity. Structurally, though, what that looks like at First Five based on our agency requirements is every year our commission ultimately approves contracts and budgets year over year. So our intention is to provide flexible funding for 3 years, but the structure will be via annual contracts, in case that's a question you all were going to ask later. We thought we'd answer that right up front. Also, we are looking to potentially allocate up to $29.5 million over 3 years. So that is cumulative over the course of those 3 years. That $29.5 million is a mix of Proposition 10 dollars, other funding, as well as some additional fundraising we intend to do. Next slide, please. So just quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with our strategic plan, this is just a quick visual of our primary focus areas that we adopted in August. You'll see across the top, those are sort of our overall approaches to everything that we're doing related to the strategic plan. But the 4 focus areas are really where our work is going to be centered over the next 3 years. And this particular RFP is really targeted to address that very first focus area, the far left purple box. We are doing significant work at First Five on those other 3 areas. And this particular RFP does not necessarily look to distribute dollars in those 3 areas, even though we certainly will be asking you all when you submit your proposals about your ability to engage families and, of course, about your organization's approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion. But the focus of this RFP is really looking to breathe life into that first purple box. Next slide. So First Five is, of course, was created by Proposition 10 many, many years ago, and is really focused on serving our youngest children, children 6 and under, 5 and under. But in recognition that we have declining resources from where they were many years ago, as part of our strategic plan, we really took a hard look at where should we be centering our work, which families in particular should we be prioritizing when we have to make difficult decisions about resources. So our commission identified 5 priority populations that we are really hoping to serve and reach through this opportunity. I'm going to go over them quickly, but I also just want to recognize that we chose these 5 because we were really looking to address and serve families that have most been impacted by systemic and institutional racism and trauma. And that was based on looking at health, social, academic, and economic outcomes. And of course, these 5 populations definitely are intersectional, and many families actually can identify with a number of these definitions of a priority population. But the 5 priority populations that we are, really hoping to serve with these dollars and with your partnership are families who have children with disabilities and behavioral health needs, immigrant families, and prioritizing those immigrant families that are new arrivals, or those who have no documentation or mixed documentation, which obviously present additional barriers to accessing other programs. In this community, we absolutely want to make sure we are serving and addressing families who have unstable housing. And we want to make sure we're supporting under-resourced families. And here at First Five, we define that not only as families who meet the legal and government definitions of low income, but also families that we call gap families who aren't eligible for government-funded programs, perhaps because their income is just above that threshold. But in this particular community with our cost of living, those families are not able to afford the full cost of services needed to support their children. And last, we're looking to support and impact court-impacted families, in particular those who have been affected by the justice system or the not justice system, child welfare, incarceration, and other court-monitored programs, including child and family reunification. And you'll see in the RFP and in the application process, we will be asking you all to share with us your experience working with these particular populations. I believe the next slide, we were going to talk a little more about the strategies that we laid out in this RFP and just give you a quick overview of those, again, with the goal of giving you all lots of time to ask us questions later. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Zulema Inay, who will share more about our strategies.
Thank you, Jennifer, and good afternoon, everyone. The way that First Five is envisioning supporting the priority populations is through these 3 interconnected strategies. Next slide, please. Strategy 1, we are interested in places and spaces that connect families, as Jennifer mentioned, to basic resources, services, and supports in ways that improve a family's sense of safety and belonging. We envision place-based sites that are culturally responsive, trauma-informed, and healing-centered, and that are knowledgeable about the barriers and unique challenges of the priority populations and really meeting families where they're at. Strategy 1 may include, but is not limited to, family resource centers and community resource centers. First Five especially invites proposals to build out a mobile family resource center or a pop-up community resource center to address those service gaps that a lot of the priority populations face. With this strategy, First Five intends to fund proposals with grants of up to $2 million over 3 years, and organizations can apply for more than one strategy. I think it's also important to note with this strategy that in the past, First Five has funded or supported family resource centers themselves, and then separately provided financial support for curriculums, trainings, and other programming. First Five will no longer be offering those programs and services. We recognize that there may be other early literacy strategies and programs that agencies may have already identified, or that they might be working with to serve their community in this effort to promote healthy child development and being responsive to community needs. First Five wants to broaden support for effective strategies and really make room for new models of serving community. Next slide, please. Strategy 2. First Five seeks proposals that address critical gaps in connecting families to resources, services, and supports, seeking proposals that are focused on specific or unique services that are inaccessible, are unavailable, or ineffective within a system of care. And this strategy invites partners who are not working in a resource center model, but who serve the priority population within a system of care, or place-based resource center partners who are seeking additional funding to address particular gaps experienced by the families that they serve. With this strategy, First Five intends to fund proposals with grants of up to $900,000 over 3 years. And again, organizations can apply for more than one strategy. Next slide. Strategy 3. This strategy creates new solutions that disrupt systemic oppression and removes barriers that prevents families from accessing resources to raise healthy children. We're seeking bold and innovative efforts, really centering systems change to connect families to those services and resources. This strategy seeks to invite partners who are not working in a resource center model, but who serve the priority populations within a system of care, or place-based resource center partners who are seeking additional funding to build out systems change focused projects with the families that they serve. And this strategy intends to fund proposals with grants of up to $500,000 over 3 years. And again, organizations can apply for more than one strategy. Next slide. The diaper program. So as some of you may know, First Five has made the diaper program available to current Family Resource Center grantees and other partners. And this program serves families with young children by providing a monthly supply of free diapers and connecting families to other Family Resource Center activities and programs. For agencies that are considering offering the diaper program as part of their service and resources, First Five anticipates having a separate funding allocation for diaper kits. So this means that agencies do not need to include that in their budget. And with that, I will pass it off to Kelsey.
Thanks, Alema. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey Butnager. I'm a director in the Community Health and Wellness Department at First Five. So this slide just tells you in a little bit more detail kind of how we're thinking about allocating that 29.5 million over 3 years across the 3 strategies. So the place-based resource center, strategy 1, we're looking at allocating 18 million over 3 years, which as Zulema shared, we intend to fund proposals with this strategy with grants of up to 2 million over 3 years. Strategy 2, critical gaps, looking at allocating 9 million over 3 years, with the intent to fund proposals toward this strategy with grants of up to $900,000 over 3 years. And finally, strategy 3, bold and innovative efforts. We're looking at 2.5 million over 3 years with the intent to fund proposals with grants of up to $500,000 over 3 years. And then I'll just walk you through a brief timeline for RFP. So we released the Stronger Systems, Stronger Families Initiative RFP on January 16th. We are today, January 26th, at our proposers conference. And then we intend to have 2 rounds of Q&A. We know that, as you're reading through the RFP initially, you might have some questions, and then as you work on your application, you may, come up with some things that didn't surface for you initially. So we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to ask all those questions and get answers before the proposal submission deadline. So first round of questions, we ask that those are submitted by January 31st next week. And then responses to those will be posted on our website by Friday, February 2nd. Additionally, as Jennifer shared, we will post written responses to all of the questions that we answer today, and any questions that we aren't able to answer either because we run out of time or because we need to take back to our internal team and have a few more conversations. We'll also post all responses to those on February 2nd. Second round of questions will be due on February 8th. And responses to those will be posted on February 13th. We're asking for those who are able to strongly encouraged to submit an intent to apply form due. We've created a template for this. We're hoping it's as easy as possible. And really the purpose behind this is just to give us a sense of the number of applications that we're going to receive that will allow us to develop our selection panels and our review panels to make sure we have the appropriate number of people and structure to review all submitted proposals in a timely fashion. And so when proposals are submitted on February 20th, we're able to notify everyone in late March, early April. And with that, I think I'm turning it over to Maureen Shalene, who's going to give you an overview of some of the financial documents and budget instructions. Maureen, I think you're on mute.
I can't see myself, so I didn't know. Sorry. These are the list of documents that are required with each of the strategies. And what you'll do is you'll go into our web portal and you will upload these documents. Now, I do want to note that some of them are not required for governmental agencies, but these are pretty standard for most RFPs. And so you'll see when you get into how to use our portal, there'll be more information on that. Next slide, please. So the proposal budget, it's a workbook that we put together in Excel. It has 3 tabs. The first tab is how to use this workbook. Next slide. The 3-year budget worksheet. And finally, the FY24-25 budget worksheet. Now, I put this important note, and that is that you will start with the 3-year budget. And when you put in all your information for your 3-year budget, it's going to self-populate much of the FY24-25 worksheet, so you don't have to put text in, etc. So that's why we're asking you to do the 3-year budget first. And a couple comments. One is we're asking you to do a pretty high level budget at this point. And because we feel like it takes a lot of time to really drill down and give really specific details, and we'll be doing that during the scope of work and budgeting process when we award the grants. Next slide, please. So these are snippets from the workbook, and so you will need to fill out a different budget workbook for each strategy that you're applying for. And so you're just going to go ahead and make sure you put in which strategy this is for, and then you're going to fill out the green and yellow cells only. Next slide. The 4 budgeted areas are going to be your direct program personnel, and you'll see that we're asking for titles only. We don't want names of people, and you can put like, coordinator and put 3 and then put in the total amount. You don't have to list each coordinator separately, but I'll show you that in a minute. And then for collaborative partners and contractors, again, we're just asking you to name the agency or the contractor and put a dollar amount in. We will drill down on that budget again when we go through the scope and budgetary process after an award is made. And then we have your direct program costs, and finally, indirect expenses. Yeah, thank you, Kelsey. So this is what it looks like on the 3-year budget for program personnel. And like I mentioned, you can just describe the title, the FTEs, the total 3-year budget for that, for just their salaries, and then put in the FTEs in the yellow box that you plan on first 5 funding. If it's 100%, put 100. If you say have 3 folks and you already have identified funding for one of them, you'd put 2, and it will calculate it for you out on the first 5 budget page. And then on the narrative, you can be as specific as you want, but really, some of them are obviously going to be self-explanatory, but we did want to put the narrative on the same page as the budget. And then finally, down below where I circled, you need to put in your fringe benefit percentage, and it will carry everything forward to get your total personnel. Next slide. And then this is the collaborative partners and consultants I already mentioned. So again, you're just going to put the name of the agency or the partner and the percent you want first 5 to fund, and it will fill out the blue 4th column. Next slide. Direct program, again, go ahead and fill out, you can consolidate like, occupancy and other expenses. So, and like I said, we'll get down to more details. So we're encouraging you, we're trying to make this as easy as possible. And so we want to make sure that, you can get through this, and it's not, you don't have to be so specific at this point in time. Next slide. Indirect, we are capping that at 15%, and that amount will automatically calculate for you. Just put in the percent that you want to use, and then once you're done and you saved everything, you have your budget for your 3-year and your 1-year. Actually, go to the next slide, Kelsey, real quick. So this is the 24-25 workbook. So the reason we ask for the 24-25 is because that's what we will put into our budget and go to our commission with. And so we're asking that if you have any other funding streams that you're going to use for this project, that you'll put those known and unknown sources in this on this only for the first year. We know that going beyond 1 year is not possible for most of the agencies. So we're just asking you to put in what you already have funded for the project. Next slide, Kelsey. Okay, so that was it on that. What you're going to do is you're going to save that onto wherever you save it, and you're going to upload it as an Excel document in our portal. So we do want it in Excel in case we want to do anything on it. So we do receive MA dollars. That's the Medi-Cal administrative activities. And basically Medi-Cal, we all know what Medi-Cal is, but we as an agency can bill for administrative work we do, connecting folks with Medi-Cal services, and so do our grantees at this point. And so we just wanted everybody to be aware that we definitely are going to be looking at, if appropriate, also collecting data from staff members that work on your programs that are qualifying for MA, that we're going to ask them to do that. Next slide, Kelsey. And basically the final bullet is staff members who qualify to report their time must complete a time study with appropriate codes. And we provide all the training you'll need. We provide tons of support, and it's not insignificant. It really is, like, it's about $1.8 million of our budget every year comes through Medi-Cal, and that's how We're counting that so we can do the 29.5 million out into the community. So that's MA. And that's it. I think for me, I'm going to hand it over to Myra.
Hi everyone, my name is Mayra Mena. I'm a contracts coordinator with First Life, and I will be walking you through how to create a new account on our application portal. So the first step will be for you to go to our website, firststepkids.org, and hover over who we are, and you're going to find the funding opportunities. You're going to click on that, and it's going to take you to our page where we have all the RFP information. You're going to scroll down all the way to the bottom. I know some of you have already created an account, so this will be a review. So you're going to scroll all the way down to the page, and you're going to find the apply now. This is if you have not created yet an account. You're going to click apply now, and it's going to take you to the next page. So it's going to take you to our application portal. So your organization is going to designate a person who is going to fill out and complete the application. Multiple people will not be able to access an application that is already in progress. So make sure you have one designated person who will be in charge of applying, uploading the documents, and submitting the application. Once you are on this page on the application portal, you are going to see at the bottom where it says email a new applicant link. You're going to click that link, and it's going to create a new account. If you already have an account, you're just going to enter your email and the password that you used to create your account. Next slide. So once you click that new applicant link, it's going to take you to a new window, and it's going to ask you to write your email, confirm your email, and type your password, and then confirm your password again. Pay close attention to the requirements of the password, because if you don't meet the requirements, it's going to give you an error message. And make sure you keep this password safe where you're able to find it in order to prevent you from resetting your password or having difficulty logging into your application portal. Next slide. So if the password does not match when you enter on confirm password, it is going to give you an error message. So you're going to have to retype it and make sure both passwords are exactly the same. So once you created your account and you sign in, it's going to take you to our application. You're going to see the welcome page on the top of the application, and then you're going to see across the page the different tabs on the application. Depending on your organization, you will be able to apply for all three strategies, or just one or two, whatever it is that your organization is deciding. So please review the completed application before submitting. Make sure that all the required documents or all the attachments are on the application portal. Next slide. So when you're ready to leave the application, even if you have not finished completing the application, you just click on Save and Finish at the bottom. Every page or every tab has that Save and Finish Later button. So don't worry, you will not, if you exit out, you will not lose any information, but you do have to click Save and Finish Later in order for the application to be saved with the information you just entered. Next slide. So to return to your application, application, you will receive, once you create the account on the application portal, you will receive an email that it's titled Welcome Grant Seeker, and it'll come from First 5 Santa Clara County. So on here, you'll have a link. You can bookmark the link on your browser, so it's easier for you to go back to your saved application. So you can use this link. Next slide. Okay, so then returning to the application in progress, you will click the link on your email. It'll take you to the application portal login. You'll enter your email and your password. Next slide. Or you can also go to our webpage and all the way to the bottom, where on the tab next to Apply Now, you can click the link on Return to Application, bookmark that link, and it'll take you to your saved application. If you already have an account and you click the Apply Now again, it'll restart a new application for you again. So you'll have 2 applications pending for you to complete. So we want you to click, if you already completed an application, or if you already started an application, you want to click the Return to Application in Progress, so it takes you directly to the application that you already started. Next page. In the event that you do forget your password and you're not able to log in, you are able to reset your password by clicking on the Forgot Password link. It'll send you an automated email with instructions on how to reset your password. Next slide. And this is an example, a screenshot of the email that you'll receive once you reset that password. Next. So once you reset your password, it'll take you back to the application portal. And then once you're on here, it'll give you a list of the applications that you have pending or in progress. So like you see down here on this screenshot, when you log in into your account, you'll see the application and it'll have the application number. And then at the top, it'll show that it's in progress. On that drop-down menu, you can also choose to see submitted applications. If you have already submitted your application, it'll be on that page. Next slide. And I will hand it over to Heidi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Heidi Emberling. I'm the Executive of Community Impact here at First 5. So happy to see you all here today, and thank you for being here with all of your questions. We are going to turn to answering your questions very soon. I just wanted to remind you again, and this is on our website as well, but there will be 2 rounds of written questions and responses, and they will both be posted to that same page where our RFP is. The link is here under the funding opportunities. So all questions submitted up and until Wednesday the 31st will be included in the responses, which will be posted Friday, February 2nd. Round 2, questions submitted up until the 8th of February will then be posted by Tuesday, February 13th. And then again, our final submission deadline is February 20th. Make sure that you get your application portal started before then in case there are any technical issues. If you have any general questions after this session about the initiative, content contained within the initiative, please email us at rfp@first5kids.org. And if you have any technical questions about creating your online account, about using the application portal, about uploading any of your documents, any of your budget workbook questions, or issues with submission of your application, please email ta@first5kids.org. That's for all technical assistance. All right, so I want to thank you again for being here. Thanks for sharing those slides, Kelsey. And I think we're going to start with a question that came in about, can you describe or elaborate on mobile FRCs? I think I'm going to ask Zulema to start us off.
Yes, thank you for that question. And, you know, the idea here is for us to be able to work on accessibility and provide access to priority populations. And, you know, in the past, we've seen limitations with having a place-based FRC location, you know, regarding transportation, regarding, you know, family structures that make it challenging, you know, for families, whole families to move from one place to another in order to seek services or resources. And so, you know, this idea is really, you know, as it describes a mobile FRC that, you know, we envision, it's roves, you know, around and, you know, goes into those spaces that, you know, will make it easier to provide services for a priority population. So, you know, beyond that, you know, here, you know, ideas, you know, the sky's the limit. You know, we know we'll be seeing you know, something new from proposers. Anything else, Jennifer, you want to add to that?
No, that was perfect. I think we are open to creative ideas about making sure that some of our place-based services can get to those families that we may not have been reaching.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Can organizations apply for more than one $2 million contract in order to serve more regions in the county? Maureen or Jennifer?
I can answer that. I can take that one. The answer to this one is actually no. It's by the organization can apply for up to 2 million. Yes, that's the short answer. Jennifer, you want to add anything?
I was just going to say, within each strategy, the organization can only submit one proposal per strategy, but they can apply for more than one strategy, which would, if awarded all three, could obviously result in more than $2 million.
But not more than one in application in strategy one from one organization.
That's correct.
Right. So you can apply for multiple strategies, but you can't apply for multiple strategy ones. Just one strategy one or one strategy two or one strategy three. Great. Hopefully, Anne, that answers your question. Are organizations allowed to define their approach and their tools used to accomplish their strategies uniquely as opposed to prescribed by First Five? Jennifer?
Sure. So I think that is exactly right. Just in contrast to some of our prior proposal processes and funding processes, where First Five sort of dictated very specific programming, here we're really looking for agencies to tell us what strategies they think could achieve the outcomes that we identified in the RFP. So I believe the answer to your question is yes, if I understand it correctly.
Thank you. Are there any parameters or limitations for hiring of staff for any of the granting areas? Maureen or Jennifer?
We have not put in any limitations on hiring of staff. You know, we're expecting you to tell us what staff you need to accomplish your goals and your scope of work. And we know that you guys are the experts in that. So yeah, we don't have any limitations.
Thank you, Maureen. Do you have an average grant target within each of the 3 categories? Is there a minimum number of grants in each category you are targeting to provide?
I can take that one. There is not a targeted minimum grant amount. I think that was the question. I just want to make sure I'm reading it correctly. Yes, no, there is not an average grant target. So we've identified the maximum, but just to be clear, agencies can certainly apply for less if they have a program that they believe they can operate for less. And there's also not a minimum number of grants. Obviously, the dollar amounts that we've identified as potential targets in each strategy would limit the number of grants, but we don't have a specific minimum in mind.
All right, and we have another question that came in from the chat, which was, does this grant allow to pay personnel salaries? I think that was answered by Maureen.
Yeah, I want to clarify, obviously.
Absolutely.
It's direct salary. So, you know, your accountant and your, you know, executives and your, you know, anybody who is more of in the background, that's going to be part of your indirect percentage. So we are looking for the direct salaries of people that are directly working on the project most of the time.
Sure.
And there are definitions in the RFP related to the budget categories. So you can look to those for more detailed descriptions of what belongs in which category.
All right, thank you. Along with that, would space rental for place-based programs be an allowed expense to include in proposed budgets?
Yes.
Thank you, Maureen. Another question is, if the organization doesn't do Medi-Cal referrals currently as part of their work, do they need to begin doing it to be a grantee?
So the answer to this question is it depends. And we would probably need to work with the organization and talk with them about their scope of work. And you know what their strategy is for connecting families to services. And as Maureen mentioned, in developing this RFP, we are anticipating being able to utilize some of those Medi-Cal activity dollars to support this work. So it would really depend on the agency and the work. We do ask agencies about their capacity to participate in the Medi-Cal activities program as part of the proposal process. So you would have an opportunity to articulate more about that in your application. So it's not a bar. I think the answer is it depends.
A follow-up for that would be, if programs are not able to bill MA, is that an issue?
Again, I think the question depends on what the agency means by able. Our agency does provide technical assistance and support and training around participation in the Medi-Cal activities program. So I think we would need to talk with the agency more about what able means. And again, you'll have an opportunity to do that in the application process.
Wonderful, thank you. Here's a question about whether school districts are eligible to apply.
Oh, Heidi, I just assumed you were going to take that one.
Oh,
yes.
Yes, all entities are eligible to apply. Any other caveats, Jennifer?
Not in terms of eligibility, no.
Wonderful. Thank you, Heather. Will proposals that have higher amounts of additional funding for their projects receive more points in scoring?
Are you handing that to me?
Yes, I was just going to share that all of the criteria for scoring is included in the RFP language. So please take a look at that for additional guidance on how each proposal will be scored. Did you want to add anything to that, Jennifer?
Yes, I will just add that financial sustainability is part of the evaluation process, and there's kind of a detailed description of what we are looking for. So that is part of the rubric, is assessing sustainability of the programming beyond just First Five funding throughout the 3 years and beyond.
Thank you. Another MA question. Will agencies that already time study for MA have to change their reporting and participate with First Five? Would this mean the MA funding that is sustaining the CBO would then go to First Five?
So I think that this question is more related to direct Medi-Cal rather than MA. MA is its own very specific. It's really connecting people with services. We do have a number of grantees who collect MA currently, and they do collect it for themselves. And they'll also collect for themselves, and sometimes they'll do time studies for us. So it's not a yes or no. It's a case by case basis. And if they're working on our program and it's significant, we would probably request them to bill through us on that. But if it's not and they're already doing it, we probably would not. That's how we've done it in the past.
Thank you, Maureen. The next question is whether there is a max number of characters in the narratives. This is outlined in the RFP. There are suggested numbers for the individual components of the proposal narratives. You'll see that outlined in the RFP, and there's a maximum for the entire application. If you have further questions as you're going through the RFP about characters, number of characters, please go ahead and email us at rfp@first5kids.org, and we'll be happy to exchange some information through our question and answer document. Hopefully, this question will be answered as you go through the RFP. It's delineated within there. Thank you for the question. Would you fund a childcare organization reaching low-income families and serving children 0 to 5? Would you like me to take this one also? Happy to. So any entity is welcome to apply for the RFP. I would say read through the strategies and the question prompts as you're completing the application. Should be able to answer your question. We're looking for organizations that serve families throughout our county. So make sure that you're looking through all of the question prompts as you're filling out the application. Hopefully this question will be answered for you. And if not, feel free to reach out to us at rfp@first5kids.org, and we will go further into depth in our question and answer document. Thank you. Who will conduct the application review process? Can anyone from specific organizations which already serve priority populations request to be a part of the application reviewing process to ensure that access to priority populations are indeed accounted for? Yeah, go ahead, Kelsey. Thank you.
So all applications will be reviewed by a panel of internal First Five staff and external partners who do not have a conflict of interest. I believe we are defining conflict of interest as anyone who works for or serves on the board of any organization that is applying for funding through this RFP. Jennifer, do you want to say anything else about conflict of interest in the review panel?
Yes, just that we're currently assembling the review panel, so we won't really know who might be eligible to participate until we actually know who is applying, so we can identify how those conflicts of interest exist. So we are to the extent possible, wanting to recruit and engage external individuals in combination with our First Five team as well.
Thank you very much. Is there a restriction on the budget of the organization in the sense you will fund only organizations below or above a certain budget?
I'll take it. We
Thank
have
you.
not created any such barrier for any agency. Your budget, we do request it because we do a financial review of your agency, but we do not have a minimum budget that you have to have in order to apply.
Thank you, Maureen. Hay una pregunta en español. Parece que Zulema, you answered this one. Yeah, no. In the Q&A. So again, if you have questions in Spanish, feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will do our best to respond to them as well.
I have not responded to this one yet.
Okay,
I can respond.
perfect. Go ahead.
Si existen, si van a aplicar juntas con dos cooperativas, entonces solamente se va a necesitar crear una cuenta y una de las agencias va a tomar la iniciativa para llenar la aplicación.
Gracias. Would awards be for full proposal budgets, or would there be adjusted amounts awarded based on number of awards and requests?
I'll answer that. I mean, we haven't really determined that we're going to award partial funding. I think our hope is that, we're able to fund what is needed by each agency. But do remember that sustainability is going to be one of the factors that we, financial sustainability. And so we are looking to have those agencies that have other funding sources, more of a braided funding source of that, because that means the program was not dependent just upon us if something, catastrophic were to happen or, whatever. So.
And if the question, I'm not 100% sure, I think the question is asking, for example, if somebody proposed a program for 2 million, are we considering like giving everybody 1 million? Is I think maybe what the question is asking. And I think we don't know yet because we don't know what our applications are going to look like, but we certainly designed the caps by thinking about what seemed like a reasonable amount of funding in order to deliver. And certainly if there were a time that we were to award less than asked by the agency, we would work with the agency to adjust the scope and the deliverables as opposed to giving you half and asking you to do the whole thing, if that makes sense. I think that's maybe what the question is asking.
Thank you. What is the public process of engagement? And I'm assuming this has to do with up to this point? Or is it after the awards are made? But I'm assuming it's up to this point. So
Yeah, I mean, I will say that the review process does not have a public process. So once the applications are submitted, there is not a public process. However, in the RFP, we did lay out the participation process in both developing our strategic plan, which included engaging a number of your agencies and a number of community partners in helping define our priorities. It included some engagement with both families through a survey as well as a focus group. And also once we began to develop this particular RFP, there was also a community engagement process, which is described in the RFP.
Thank you.
And I will add, there are limitations to participation in once you're in development of an RFP. We are restricted from certain types of engagement in order to prevent an agency that might be eligible from sort of designing their own funding process. So that's part of the financial guidelines that we have to follow in terms of developing and drafting an RFP.
Thank you. Can there be multiple applications in a strategy if there are different proposals from one organization?
Again, I'm not 100% sure I understand, but each agency can apply for each strategy, but an agency cannot submit multiple applications within the same strategy.
Yes, exactly. Does this grant allow us to buy a new facility, new car for transportation for kids? I think this came from the chat. So I would read over the RFP and read over the different strategies that are listed there, strategy 1, 2, and 3. There are several pages dedicated to each strategy. If you feel that your proposal fits within one of our strategies, or if you have further questions about it, feel free to reach out to the rfp@first5kids.org email address, and we can try to respond to those. I think you'll find there's a lot of information that sort of answers this question within the RFP, but we're also happy to answer any questions that are not answered after reading it. Thank you. Creo que esta pregunta es lo mismo. Shannon, I think maybe you moved a question from chat. Zulema, is this the same question you already answered?
No, it's not.
Oh, it's a little different. Okay.
The new question.
Okay, go ahead.
It's clarification on what we mean by the letter of transmittal.
So the letter of transmittal, Zulema, if they feel that there's a part of their application that is confidential information, they need to tell us that when they submit the application. And, it would probably be, we're not asking for names of folks, so, but if there's something in it they consider to be very confidential, they just have to put it in the letter, the page and the section number.
Aquí se refiere si hay información en la aplicación que es confidencial. Entonces, esta carta, este documento, se entrega dejándonos saber que la aplicación, parte de la aplicación lleva información que es confidencial.
Terrific. Thank you. Can strategy 1 be used to provide financial assistance like hoteling or emergency housing services due to domestic violence or human trafficking in order to help families find stable housing?
Strategy 1 is the place-based service. So I don't know if this is asking if part of the place-based program could provide financial assistance. I'm assuming that is. There is no specific bar on the types of expenses other than what's listed in the RFP.
All right, thank you. Can funding be used for building improvements for place-based activities?
If the expense is related to offering the place-based service, and the RFP needs to describe how that's relevant, then and how it creates the program and the deliverables, then again, we don't have any specific barriers to particular types of expenses other than what's in the RFP.
Thank you. Would funding from this RFP allow for stipends for families who might participate in leadership development? For example, funds to participate in policy advocacy education for a predetermined number of weeks.
I think again, we need to go back to the RFP, and if you can justify those expenditures as part of the strategy and why, that's part of your strategy. I think, again, go back to the RFP and look at the language and then determine, you just need to, again, tell us how you're going to use the funds and why it's important to be able to offer that.
Thank you, Maureen. How will you ensure that place-based services are available across the county? I think awards in the past were based on region.
So we no longer have the strategy for place-based service that specifically identifies, we must have these strategies in particular regions. So part of the evaluation process will be looking at all of the proposals and making sure we have coverage in terms of the priority population. And we will certainly be asking and considering kind of regional coverage in terms of the entire approach. And that is, there are some questions about, if you're applying for strategy 1, there are some specific questions about kind of your region, neighborhood, or geographic area that you would anticipate serve.
Thank you.
We also added a question in the proposal process about, particularly for agencies who are considering doing some kind of a pop-up or a mobile, if they are willing to potentially work with First Five to provide services in areas that First Five identifies are areas of need. That's a question in the proposal.
Thank you. Zulema, another question en español. ¿Una aplicación puede llevar 2 estrategias o se debe de hacer una aplicación para cada estrategia?
Can one application have apply for 2 strategies within one application is the question.
You want to answer that in Spanish?
Can you confirm the answer?
Oh, sure. One organization can apply for multiple strategies within one application.
Y las organizaciones pueden aplicar para más de una estrategia usando solamente una aplicación.
Our childcare, thank you. Gracias. Are childcare agencies serving LMI families eligible to apply? And we may have answered this. Eligibility is outlined in the RFP, and eligible entities working in Santa Clara County can apply for the RFP. I would say read over the different strategies and see if your proposal fits within one of the strategies that are listed in the RFP. And if you have any additional questions as you're reading through it, feel free to reach out to us, again, using the RFP at first5kids.org email address, and we will respond in our question and answer document. Thank you. The criterion or criteria are listed in the RFP, but are not assigned a weighted value to help us understand if one criteria is more of a priority in scoring than others. Please explain. Kelsey, did you want to talk about that in terms of review process?
I think this might be one we want to take back and discuss more internally. If Jennifer, do you have anything
Yeah, at this point, we don't have the weighting to provide you. So we will respond in writing if we are able to give that.
Great. So check out our first Q&A posting, which will be on February 2nd. Hopefully there will be responses to many of these questions included in that document. And I think the next question is the same. People are interested in understanding the rubric for scoring, and we will go back to the team and chat more about what we can share about this in the Q&A document. And I think we answered this next question about strategy 1. Regarding MA, does that mean that the agency itself does not need to be a Medi-Cal provider? The assumption is that each therapist would have an NPI number.
I think the question is, no, you do not have to be a Medi-Cal provider to participate in the Medi-Cal activities program through an agency that already has an approved Medi-Cal activities program. So no, you do not have to be a Medi-Cal provider to participate. You may be a Medi-Cal provider and you may be billing Medi-Cal in other ways, though, but that's not a requirement to be a participant in the MA program.
Thank you for that clarification. Otra pregunta en español. Para la estrategia 1, ¿se debe de administrar un centro comunitario? Is it a requirement that you be operating a place-based resource center to apply for strategy 1?
Very good, Heidi.
Practicing my Spanish today, it's very fun.
La respuesta aquí es que para la estrategia número 1, sí estamos viendo esos centros comunitarios, pero también la idea o el concepto de tener centros comunitarios que sean, vamos a decir, ambulantes o que no estén fijos en un lugar, que puedan llevar esos servicios a otras partes, a otros lugares, para poder que otras familias, a otras comunidades puedan accesar esos recursos.
Gracias. If a proposer is submitting a collaborative application with partners, should they designate who will be the lead agency? Please clarify, since the RFP makes reference to First 5 reserving the right to designate the lead agency.
Great question. Yes, we would ask that you identify who the lead agency is. And actually, the lead agency, for example, submits a budget. The partner agency does not separately submit a budget. And then there are, directions throughout the RFP that explains when just the lead agency needs to supply information. So we would ask that you designate a lead agency as opposed to us choosing who the lead agency is.
Thank you. Can we use the references across multiple applications, or should we submit different references for each strategy applied for?
It is fine to use the same references as long as that reference is relevant to that particular strategy. If it's the same, that's fine.
And again, there's no need for multiple applications. If you're applying for multiple strategies, you can do it within one application. You will see in our online application portal, there are different tabs for different strategies that you're applying for, but you can apply for up to all 3 strategies within the same application. Trying to simplify the process as much as we can for you all. Do you have specific financial qualifications on what you consider gap families or how we define gap families?
We don't, and that's largely because the eligibility criteria for programs vary widely, depending on whether it's a state, federal, or local program. And essentially what we're asking is if your program has the ability, if you identify that as the priority population that you work with, that your program would have the ability to serve GAP families, even if they aren't eligible for particular government programs. So, for example, if a program can only serve families that are on Medi-Cal, that would mean that GAP families would unlikely be eligible. So it would just be for you to clarify, if you are able to serve families that are just above whatever threshold of service or area you're supporting.
Thank you. For the fiscal requirements, particularly audited financials, if our final fiscal year 23 isn't ready, do you want unaudited 2023 or use 2022 audited? And same clarification on tax returns.
Right.
Most recent,
So we do know that there are delays. I would say for audited, if you have an FY22 audit, I would really want the audit because it has a lot of information in it that your unaudited financials won't have. And I think what we would do is we do reserve the right then to reach out and request your unaudited 23 if we feel that they're just a little too old or there's something that we need more. And same thing on tax returns. So I understand the deadlines and how long those can go before they're filed.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for all of those questions, everyone. Are there additional questions from the chat that anyone noticed that we haven't responded to yet? Or does anyone have additional questions that you'd like to place in the Q&A before we close out this proposers conference? While you're thinking about that, just a reminder that the recording of this proposers conference and the slides that we shared earlier will both be posted to our website for your review.
And a reminder that you can still submit questions separate from today's session to our RFP email address, and those will also be added to the Q&A document that we'll be posting next week.
If you have any technical issues as you are applying, please reach out to our TA@first5kids.org email address for all technical issues. If you have any technical issues uploading a document or any questions about the budget worksheet, etc., please email TA@first5kids.org. If you have general questions about the content contained within the RFP itself, please use RFP@first5kids.org. Both of these email addresses are also available on the website and within the content of the RFP. So hopefully you will be able to find out how you can ask your questions even after we say goodbye today. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending today and for all the great questions. And we really are so excited about this effort. We're excited to read all of your proposals. We look forward to partnering with you on behalf of families with young children in our county. And thank you very much for being here today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.